Are you someone who struggles with figuring out like what it is that you're feeling? Or do you find that you struggle communicating what it is you're feeling to another person? Or is it like you try to communicate it to another person, but it's met with like them not really understanding or really seeming to even care or get it? Well, one thing that can happen is we often aren't really using the best words to try to describe what it is we're feeling. So there's a tool that is really amazing for helping us to expand our ability to communicate more clearly what it is that we're feeling. And not only is there a benefit of then others being better able to understand what it is exactly we're going through, but also just by being able to name it, we can tame it. In other words, by being able to really recognize what it is we're feeling, then it helps us to move through that emotion a little bit more smoothly. And you can kind of think of an emotion as kind of like being in a tunnel where we're in the tunnel, we can maybe see the light at the end of it. And it's a journey through that tunnel. And one of the things that help us to get to that other side and get to the end is by being able to really name what it is we're feeling. So instead of saying like, I feel stressed, then we can say something more specific, maybe something like, I feel sad. And whether we're saying that to ourselves or someone else, you can see how that maybe resonates a little bit better. Someone has probably felt sad before, so the person you're talking to might be better able to understand what that is. And by identifying it within ourselves and labeling it as such to another person, those are both things that can help us to move through that tunnel of an emotion as a journey. Let me show you. So this is something called the emotion wheel. And I'm a huge fan of this because it really helps us to go outside of the bounds of the words we usually use to describe how we feel. Like words like awful, you can see here in the middle, is a word that I crossed out. I'll explain them more on that later. Or words like stressed, that's a huge one. And upset is another one that's not listed here, but that's probably one of the most often I hear clients use when they're trying to describe how they feel in a way that's quote unquote bad or negative. And so unfortunately, those words themselves, they are so general that they can have in fact very little meaning. Sometimes when someone's saying they're stressed, what they're trying to convey is that they feel anxious. What they're really trying to convey is that they feel hurt, or maybe it's that they feel scared and angry. It could be all of those things all at once, because we can actually experience emotions, many different emotions all at one time. So let me explain how we can use this tool here to start. So in any given moment, most likely we're experiencing some emotion, even if it's to feel like relaxed, content, happy, indifferent even. So what we can do is start in the middle here. And in the middle is the more like general kinds of emotions, so to speak. Emotions like fearful, sad, happy. And then what we can do is, after we identify like what most closely that feeling we have, which one of these words really fits most closely. Let's say, for example, I go with happy. Then we can move to the next part of this circle, where looking through these, I might say that I identify most with content. And then I look a little further, and then if I maybe identify with one of these, I can say I feel free. And so you can see like how different it is to say free rather than saying like I feel good. Those are really different words. And especially if you were to try to communicate this to another person, you'd be like, okay, that's great that you feel good. And it's kind of left at that. But if you're really more specific, like to say like, I feel free, then they can get a real kind of more deeper understanding of what it is that you're experiencing. And that can lead to some more fruitful conversation, where maybe if you're expressing this to a friend or something like that, that they are someone who can really celebrate that with you, or maybe they can relate to you, or they can be like, oh, that's awesome. Let's go do this then. Because you're feeling so free, maybe they suggest trying something that we wouldn't normally do. So you can see probably the benefit of using this tool if we can really expand our ability to look outside the usual words we use, like to say we feel bad or stressed or awful. And of course, it doesn't always work perfectly like this, like we start in the middle and go towards the end. Maybe sometimes the closest word we can use or identify with is the most general one, and that's okay. So maybe happy is the word, and that's totally fine. And maybe it's more like this, like you just have to look in general at the whole wheel and see if there is a word that fits for you. So maybe it's just kind of looking for anything. So maybe without even going in order of any way, just looking to see if there is a word that fits for what you're feeling in the moment. And this could also be used as more like a thesaurus, or you can see that really there's so many different emotion words that you probably notice I put some emotion words in the corners too. And maybe one day I'll be able to fit this in the circle, but it's already just kind of bursting at the seams with different emotion words. So you'll see that there's other words I crossed out here, some other things that we normally do, we normally say as a way to try to convey what we're feeling, but they're really too general, or maybe they're just not specific enough that it really resonates with us and with other people. So not to say that these are words that you should avoid or anything like that in general. You can look at them more as like maybe it's a general word that we can start with, like to say that I feel stressed. And maybe that leads us to taking a step further, challenging ourselves a little bit and saying, like, I feel overwhelmed. So that's just a way you can kind of look at this here. And I encourage you to try practicing with this tool, the emotion wheel. And I left a link down in the description where you can download this tool. You can download this tool yourself. And not, like I said, this is something that you can use just to identify yourself what you're feeling, but then that in itself can help lead you to be able to communicate what you're feeling to another person. So you can just take that first step and really focusing in on identifying what you're feeling. And then as another way to challenge yourself, going to that next step further and communicating some of these more specific emotion words to that other person, someone that you trust. And if you like the video, please give a like. And if you want to see more of these, subscribe and hit the bell so you can get notifications when I make more videos. But otherwise, what's something you learned today? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.